Hello and welcome everybody to another stream. Today is not going to be a review day, although it probably should have been, but I am having a personal issue with reaching tabletop review book number 100. I don't know why, I just can't find a book, tabletop review number 100. That means I did 100 book reviews. 100 book reviews of different books, even relatable to the same game. I've done multiple reviews for Star Trek Adventures. I've done some for Fate Core and Chult and many others. So basically, when I do games, I don't just do the core book. I do the supplements that come with it and those book reviews, and I'm about to reach number 100. I even did Talislanta, which I should get around playing that because I really do. Like, that game is pretty fun. Although I have not played it. I've only seen it. So, today we're going to talk about house rules for the Age of the Dead. I definitely want to get this video out to anyone who wants to follow along with us. Age of the Dead is actually going to be probably a game I'm going to run for a long time. This is going to be set in an alternate Earth. It's going to be probably some of the same history, but it's going to have some elements in there. That's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to change some of the geological maps. I'm probably going to use real geological maps of a real state, but I'm going to take out the cities and change the cities around, so on and so forth. You're probably wondering why I'm going to do that. Well, here's the problem that I've always had with games related to this form of modern. I'm just checking out a few things. We got people retweeting my the stream here, so hopefully we'll get some viewers in the chat. Alright, so let me talk to you guys about misplacing geological cities and misrepresenting cities and whatnot. It has been my gaming experience over the last decade or so, last 5 to 10 years. The reason why games like this don't float is because when you place it into a city like Chicago, for the sake of a better term, Detroit, New York, when you mess something up that's not really there, when you place a shop in the wrong location in that, people actually, a lot of people don't know this, but it offends a lot of people. It actually does, and this is not something that's come out in the last 2 to 3 years. This is something that's been going on a lot longer than the wokenism we have. I'm going to call it the wokenism, whatever, the woke stuff. That was way before all this. Because people would be like, well, I've actually been to that city and this shop is right here on this street. So I wanted something that I can control. I don't have to do a lot of study on. Something I can make up on a whim and say, yeah, you're down on Main Street on this in Romero City. That's why I came up with the city that I did. Taking a drink. So that's why all the cities that we're probably going to see is going to be probably relatable geologically to certain cities in real life, but they're not actually going to be they're not going to actually be there. It's something I wanted to go kind of like the Resident Evil route, have my own when they did Raccoon City. I'm not sure why Capcom did what they did, but the reason why I'm doing it is so that way I have total control over the layout. Because when you mess up a layout, it really does deeply offend people. And that's something that's been going on for years. Years and years and years. So alright, let's get into house rules of Age of the Dead. So I pulled up my Foundry. We're going to talk about the rule scene here in a minute. So, and I'm going to explain to you why we're doing what we're doing. Alright. I'm actually going to pull up a screen share of Foundry. And then we're going to talk about this. Let me do a resize real quick so we can blow this up. You won't need to see who's online because the image I want to blow up is right here. We're gonna make this potential possibility. Oh shit. I cut it off a little bit. Okay, so the game is going to be, the campaign is going to be called Age of the Dead, but it's going to be, but the main game is going to be called the Horror Anthology Zombie Apocalypse. I named that because that's kind of like my show. So the horror, so it says up here, Rules of Horror Anthology Zombie Apocalypse. That's my show's name. The name of the series is going to be called Age of the Dead. So this is going to be a realistic, modern world, probably set in 2024, 2025, 2026, something like that. Something that we can relate to in today's time. So there is no magic. So inspired is out of the question. There is three archetypes that you can make, three archetypes and three different levels of characters. There's a normal character, a survivor character, and an inspired character. Now the reason why if you just want to make up a normal guy that's at the end of the world, you could probably still make the norms that still think that the old world still exists. That would be a normal character. Survivors are those that have agreed that the world is not like the old ways. Therefore, they're survivors. And then inspireds are the ones that can wield magic. Alright. There is going to be no magic in my world, so inspired characters are automatically out. There will be no meta points. There will be nothing to that agree. You will not be able to use that whatsoever. So there won't be no one with powers. Simple as that. No magic whatsoever. This is going to be strictly to try to be like science fiction a little bit. Like not like space science fiction, but like realistically as close to real science as it's possible. But, you know, also still make believe. Still fiction. Survivors are out of the question because who's a survivor of what? You know, there's no apocalypse yet. So the character generation is going to stick to the norm archetype rules regardless. So the normal archetype rules are as follows. You get 14 attributes. You get 14 points for attributes. You get 5 quality points, and then you can take up to 10 points in drawbacks, and then you get 30 skill points. Simple as that. During character creation, not one attribute can exceed 5 5 is the max during character creation. For skill points, you can exceed 5. You can go up to 6. But I believe after you reach beyond 5 and go into 6, that skill is now considered a specialty skill. Like, you specialized in that. So 1 to 5 ranks on one skill is your masterfulness of having, basically, like, you're skillful with it. 6 to 10 is you're masterful with it, so it's become your specialty. It's not just a skill you have, it's your specialty. Which actually makes a difference when spending points to go from, when you're going from 2 to 3, there's a difference from going 2 to 3 on a skill and then going from 7 to 8. A major difference with points. So, yeah. During character creation, you can, during character creation, and this is the only time that you can do this, you can choose, like, only say you got 30 skill points, but you want 3 specific skills, go up to 10. Great for that. Where you get screwed over at is when you start taking new skills, and then you need to spend points on making those skills your new specialties. That's where you're going to lose all your improvement points. And then if you're not skilled in it, if a skill is 0 and I require you to use that one skill you don't have that is 0, a 0 skill is no different than being unskilled. And being unskilled is a -2 penalty automatically. So if I say roll your perception notice and your notice is 0, you're rolling your perception -2. So there is no just 0 out. And then I can also tweak the modifiers, the modifier difficulty, and like, well, it's dark outside, so you need to take another -4 to that. So you're already at your perception -6. So that can technically screw you over royally. There does come a point that the only time you get to maybe succeed is if you roll a 10. And then it explodes, and then you roll another 10. And even then, you can still fail, even though it counts as a critical. A critical in this game, or an exploding dice as we call it, is not an automatic success. You have to re-roll, and that new dice becomes your luck dice. You may get lucky. Or you may not, depending on the results of it. I do have a result table that is for the GM only. I will not be showing that on the stream. So moving on to the next thing. The reason why we're sticking towards the normal rules is that this story follows a viral outbreak. It will start off at the start of the first week. Simple as that. I know I've talked about it many times, and I'm going to continue to talk about it. This is going to be... So there is 2 acts. There's Act 0, which will last 1 session, which means this starts 24 hours before the apocalypse. So all your characters have never seen this before. This is going to be, when this starts happening, it's going to be all brand new to them. So simple as that. We're doing an Act 0, and I will explain to you guys why. And if things are starting to get a little wonky, my reception, for some reason, is bouncing all over the place, and I'm not sure as to why. Alright. Act 0 is a session that I'm going to be running with the characters, or running with the players, and that is going to be them. Chances of a dice roll is going to be minimum. It is going to be strictly roleplay. Reasons. I want my players, and anyone else, when you do stuff like this, to get used to having your character's skin, in a sense. Like, get inside your character a bit more. Tell me everything you can. This is not one of those games where you make a somewhat semi-backstory and go with it. I want to know who your character is, and you got only one in-game day to show me who your character is before the apocalypse. Just because you have you don't have to reveal everything in your backstory. For instance, you may be a person who is a secret serial killer that survives because you killed all the other survivors all the other group members in your group and you let them munch on zombies. Or you could just be a embarrassing guy who's a geek and then now is kick-ass because you know everything about zombies. I don't know. Come up with something, Point is, tell me who your character is in everyday life. Are you a geek? Are you a person who's just a game master? Are you a nerd? Are you a military person? Are you a jock? Whatever. I am allowing my players. I've decided to probably let my players change maybe their ages a little bit. I generally want people between the age, if you're going to make a character, I generally recommend between the age of 18 and up. I will even allow, if you're 18 and you're still in high school, I will allow that. But you got to be a senior in high school. Unless you got held back 3 times, then you're stupid. But then I definitely want to see an intelligence score representing that, intelligence of 1. Don't be, don't be like, oh, I got held back because I don't care. Don't be like that. Simple as that. All right. Character creation does have to reside with the GM too. GM has to approve of your character. And you don't have to write down everything about your character. I don't have to see everything before the first session of Act 0. But the first session of Act 0, you got to get everything out there of who your character is. That is going to be the one chance you have, because after that, things are going to go to shit. So for the first act of this year, I think Act 2, there is 4 acts, and not including Act 0. If we include Act 0, it is, I believe, Act 0, and then I got Act 1 through 4. Act 2 will begin either near the end of the year, or will begin in 2025. I am planning on playing this game for a little bit because I want to do a little bit more modern setting. My fantasy setting is always going to be Castles and Crusades. That's my fantasy. My modern will be anything of World of Darkness, consisting of World of Darkness or All Flesh Must Be Eaten. And then that's my modern horror. I don't really think I have a modern fantasy setting type game, but I could care less. We may even start doing some more licensing actual plays, such as Transformers. And my sci-fi games are going to be as strictly as such, because I'm a big fan of sci-fi. There's 3 sci-fi titles I love above all else, and they are as simple, as stated too: Star Trek Adventures, Star Wars, and Star Wars, Star Trek Adventures, and Stargate SG-1. I will be running games for those titles as well. Here in the second half of this year, going into 2025. So, but when it comes to long campaigns, I think this is going to be one of them. And those, I'm running, I'm running 3 streams. They're going to be very, very simple. They're going to be 10 to 12 parts a piece, and then once we're done with that, and then maybe I'll have to come up with something else. So I have enough stuff going on right now, and enough plans to last until 2025, so yeah. And then I will award, of course, the improvement points, which we will discuss that in a minute. Couple final words I want to say on this one. So, as far as drawbacks are concerned, I always live by the rule: you take a drawback, you get a point towards attributes, qualities, or skills. This will allow you to advance your attributes only up to 5 still, but you will get more attributes at higher levels, going up to 5 only during character creation. And skill points, this gives you a couple more skill points, and this can give you a couple more points in qualities. But you're only allowed up to 10 additional during character creation, which means you can have a character, if you take 10 points in drawbacks, starting off with 10 XP, and it will still count as character creation. I live by that rule. That is one of my house rules. We're going to keep it going. The rule books, of course, as I also stated, we are going to be using Foundry, and all flesh must be eaten by the Unisystem. Now, one rule I am going to force on my players heavily, because I am going to be doing a little less GMing during this. This is something that they probably don't know about, but maybe getting a bit more into. I want all my players to stay into character. I cannot stress this enough. If I have to if we break character too much, I will be forced to make it known in the private chat, and don't speak about it on stream. If it does, consequences will ensue. I want people to just go with the flow. This is not going to be a non-scripted game. There will be a warning label because I am going to probably go a little bit more realistic with this than I probably should. But I want to create a really good story. So, yes. That's basically where I want to go with Age of the Dead. These are my house rules. Now, there's a couple additional rules to go along with it, and I'm actually going to pull those up right now. That's not it. But yes, this is Remember City, home to about 3.1 million people. It's a vast city with a booming economy with many businesses and lowest unemployment rate in the United States. Here is where the viral outbreak supposedly began. But here is where but see, we may not know where it truly began, but we all think it's going to begin here. But what we do know for sure is this is where your story begins. Welcome to the Age of Undead. But that's not what I wanted everyone to see. Let's see here. Game rules. There we go. That's what I wanted everyone to see. Let me get this around here. Do a resize. I did create this panel a little bit. You won't be able to see everything right up front, but we'll do our best. I'll do my best to move the stuff around to where everyone can see, and you guys can follow along as we're reading. Okay, so life points. What is life points? Very easily, it's physical health. Don't like that description? Here's another one. Life points is lost when you take physical damage. Physical damager? Oh man, I probably spelled danger, but I probably was thinking damage with danger. Whatever. Physical damage to your body. Okay, so at 0 life points, which we abbreviated to LP, you must make a survival test roll. This is a 2-phase. Phase 1, you must make a constitution roll to stay alive and stable. Phase 2 is a willpower roll to stay awake and conscious. Failure of that roll leads to a -1 to your life points, which comes to number 2. At -1 LP, you must make a survival roll at -1 penalty to both. If above -10, it will be a -2 penalty to the rolls. For every 10 above that, another -1 is added. And which, of course, the GM will mediate that, and eventually you do die. You die, actually, you can even die sooner before you reach -10. It just depends on your survival rolls. A failure is death. Simple as that. No, we will not be, I will not be mitigating that. I will not be, and here's what I will not be doing. I will not be mitigating that. I will not be fudging that. I will not even allow you a chance to even come back from that. Point fucking blank. When it's gonna come to zombie, we're gonna get down, gruesome, dirty, and dark. Period. You know, that's, to me, is that I've actually been watching another stream lately, and I really kind of think out of certain things that certain things should go. That's just me. But I'm going to be really hard. Now, we will get to character deaths in a minute, because there is going to be some changes to that. All right, before we go further on. All right, let's move on to the third thing about life points. So the GM will let you know, but if a certain body part takes a percentage of your LP, and damage, then it is considered spraying, broken, gored, or severe. Gored is basically, so, and I will say that. So spraying means, you probably got a couple cuts and your, bone is spraying. Rather be your foot, ankle, knee, whatever. It's just a spraying. But there's probably a couple cuts. Broken, probably still a couple cuts, but you have a broken bone. Gored, you have no broken bones, but you have no skin on that bone. The skin is well over 50% gone. It may need some grafting. And then severed, the leg, arm, or body part, including head, has been severed off your body. At 10%, it's spraying. At 25% or greater, okay, so it's like this. If it's under 10%, it's just a flesh wound. 10% or greater, it's a spraying. 25% or greater, it's considered broken. 50% or greater is considered gored. And anything in between, we can consider it with it. So if it's like under 25 but above 10, it's a spraying. If it's above 25 but under 50, it's a broken. And so on and so forth. Gored is 50% of your LP. This can actually happen. And then severed is 75% or more if that one body part took 75% of your life points. And if this is anything other than the torso, now see if it's the torso, it's a totally different situation. Again, the GM will mitigate this and will be the arbiter in this ruling whatsoever. But I wanted to put this out there for my players. Number 4 is how to regain life points. So you regain it from the following: resting, medical care, and first aid rolls, medicine rolls, whatever. But each one does a certain amount per in-game day. The GM will be the arbiter of this, and this is not something that I'm putting out there because we are not going to argue about this. I am taking as much of a backseat and a more an active role as a player than a GM. No, this will not be GM-less. I am still telling a story, but I want to create more drama. And I think this is the best way to do it, although I could be wrong. And which, if I'm wrong, whatever. Alright, let's talk about essence. Essence is a couple of things in All Flesh Must Be Eaten. For us, it's going to be a bit different. So essence is considered mental health. Think of it as sanity or whatever you want to think of it. If it was Call of Cthulhu, it would be sanity. You take essence loss when you take mental health damage from fear effects or even physical fatigue or exhaustion. So if you're like physically fatigued or exhausted, it could create a overwhelming mental pressure on you. And yes, if you suffer enough endurance points, you could lose some essence along the way. Just shit that's going to happen. Deal with it. Alright, so number 1. Losing essence is a huge mental drain on a character. When you lose a certain percentage of essence, it will take a toll on your character. So, essence loss at 50%, and this is a little bit different. So, you won't be dead if you don't have any essence, but you won't be sane either, so... Alright, so essence loss at 50%. So 50 and under, so if it's under 50, you're fine for the most part. But when you lose 50% of your essence, which for some people would be only 7 points, 5 points, some will be 10. It'll be different, varies on how you make your character. At essence loss of 50%, you suffer from temporary depression. -1 to all willpower rolls until you start regaining essence. Essence loss at 75% or greater, you're feeling hopeless. -2 to all willpower rolls. And then essence loss at 100%, you lost the will to live. -3 to all willpower rolls. Now, I'm gonna explain this real quick. These modifiers still affects the willpower roll, and when I say to all willpower rolls, it is to all willpower rolls, regardless. So let's go back to life points for a moment. If you are at, say, -10 life points, and you need to do a phase, it is -2 penalty to the rolls for every 10 points, and then for every 10 points above that, another -1. So let's say you're at -10, right? You take a -2 to your rolls. That includes your constitution and your willpower roll. Well, let's say you have essence at 75% loss. Your Constitution roll is still only at a -2, but your Willpower roll will be a -2 on top of this -2, so it'll be a -4. So chances of you may be stable enough to keep yourself alive, but you're going to pass out. And yeah, so essence will actually play a factor into those rules, into that phase as well. So good luck with that. Alright, so number 2, to regain essence is equal to the willpower level per hour of rest. And number 3, the GM will mediate all of this if there is any confusion. And regardless of which, I have a say. Alright, looks like I've got some good questions coming along. Getting some private messages on my server. But we will address that in a minute. Alright, so let's get into this. I'm zooming in. I don't know what it looks like on... Oh, shit, let me zoom out a little bit. There we go. Had to move this over a little bit. Let me see if I can move this back. There we go. Alright. Alright, so endurance points is exactly what it is. It is resistance to fatigue and exhaustion. You lose endurance points when doing physical strenuous activities such as running, taking on the undead, so on and so forth. And I do see that I am having some major activity here. Let me get with someone real quick. I am going to put, since we've been actually going for, and I am getting messages, since I am going... getting messages, and this is going to be a little bit longer of a stream. Before we start covering endurance points a bit further, let me check with these messages. I'm going to put you guys all on a brief hold and make sure we get everything out of the way. So here is some music to relax, and give me about 5 minutes. All right, everybody. Sorry about that. Just touching. Oh God. Oh God. I mean, I'm not even ready yet. There we go. There we go. Sorry, I was just talking to one of my players real quick too because everyone's getting excited for this. So, all right, here we go. All right, let's talk about endurance points and how this is going to work. So, number one, you lose endurance points when doing. Oh my God, I misspelled that. Due to. Oh, I don't know what I was thinking. I really typed this up pretty quick. When doing physical strenuous activities such as running, staying awake, and not sleeping, anything strenuous or even fighting, you lose endurance points. Probably during fighting, I'm probably not going to do like a whole lot of BS with that. That'll probably take a place after that, but you will lose. You will definitely lose endurance points eventually. So, you will be tired because fighting does tire you out. All right, so you should probably have me spell check your writing. Very funny, Witch King. I'm usually really good at spelling, but I think I kind of like typed this up kind of quick because I kind of wanted to get this out really fast. So that way I can work on other things and get ahead of that because this is not starting until like March 1st. So moving on. So you suffer effects depending on how much endurance points you have lost. So endurance points lost at 50%, you are basically fatigued and you do take -1 to all strength, dexterity, and constitution rolls. And yes, this does count for the Constitution roll for life points. And it does stack with that penalty over there too. So, yeah. It kind of makes endurance, essence, and life points very valuable. Alright. So, endurance point loss at 85%, you're basically exhausted. So, between 0% loss and 49% loss, you're fine. But at 50% and higher, you're fatigued. When you reach 85%, you move from fatigue to exhaustion. And then that's when you go from a -1 to -2 to all strength, dexterity, and constitution rolls. And then when you suffer endurance loss at 95%, yes, it's not 100, it's 95. 95%, you're basically overexhausted. And that's what you suffer from, overexhaustion. And I don't even know if that's even a word. Damn. And then a constitution roll must be made to resist from passing out at a -2. -1 additional penalty per every 5 endurance points lost above that. So, yes, you can go into the negatives and still be alive and still be, not be dead, but, you're not far from the precipice. You're dying, but you're not far from the precipice of dead. The Grim Reaper is basically looming over your body going, ha ha, which is 9 times out of 10 me. So, alright, so here's where it's going to get. So, let's say you have a character that suddenly lost its last life points, but we were acting and we figured out that you're down to 75% essence loss and 50% endurance points loss, and you are at like -10 life points. So your constitution roll will be a -2 with an additional -1. That'll be a -3, and then your willpower would be, like I said, 75% loss, which is -2. You also still got to add another 2 to that. Your willpower roll for your life points will be at a -4. Yes, all this stacks together. It happens. The whole point is surviving the worst things imaginable. This is going to be it. So, all right. However, there is like not just a long tunnel of death without hope. Here is some hope for you. You can regain endurance points equal to constitution level per half hour of sleep and rest. So it's your constitution level per half hour of sleep and rest. So you regain endurance points depending on what your constitution level is. So if you have a constitution level of 3 and you slept for 7 hours, that would count as 14. So it'd be 3 times 14. You would have regained. Hang on. You would have regained 42 endurance points. Now, you may not have 42 endurance points. You may have like 35. Oh, well, you're well rested. Here is something that you guys probably don't really think about. You have to... This only works if you get a full 7 hours rest. Oh, what? Wait, what? Tabletop Junkie? Do you mean we got to rest for 7 hours for this to take full effect? Yes, you do. So let's say, for instance, you only got 4 hours of rest. You're like, well, I still slept for 4 hours. You know. Yeah, you're right. So here's how this is going to be calculated. And this is a house rule. And it's going to suck for you. But it is what it is. All right, so you got 4 hours of rest. So you take that and then times by 2. Because it's every half hour. So that would be counted as 8. And let's say your constitution level is 3. Great. That's 24. Well, here's the other thing. You've lost 3 hours of rest. Because you only rested for 4, you lost 3 hours. So now, you got 24. So now you got to take 3 times that by 2. That is 6. So you got 24, and then you lose 1 point per half hour lost. Minus 6. Your endurance points will only be 18 because you didn't rest for that full amount of time. So if your max endurance points is like say 30 or 35, well, you only got 18 of it back. Especially if you're around 0, that could be very much hindering to a character. Same with essence. Let's say your willpower is 3. Your willpower level is 3, and you rested for 4 hours. And that one's per hour. Okay, so you take 3 times by 4, that's 12. But you lost 3 hours, so then you minus 3, so you only gain back 9. Life points is the most complicated one. There's no real way of doing that. That is all dependent on depending on several factors. Resting and what type of level care you're under while resting. Depending on how much damage you take, resting is not going to be enough. Resting only heals, I think, 1 point. Let me see. I actually have the book right here. It'll be under recuperation. No, it won't be. It would be under page 85. I think. It'll be in the main rules section. Such as running the game, dice, and all that, what that means. Resting only... But the point is, resting is only so much. Depending on how much damage you're taking, you're going to need medical care, first aid, medicine, all kinds of stuff. So, it will be dependent on several factors. And that's how much LP you will gain back. So... yeah, in a lot of cases, you're thinking, heck yeah, we could gain back a lot of life points depending on how well our stats are. But then at the same time, there's a lot of things that counteracts against that to come to perfect balance. So enjoy that one. While you can. Evil GM says, alright, so that is part of my house rules for that one. Other than that, the same rules are the same. Oh. This is my character here that I will be using. Let me do a resize on this. As you guys can see, I'm using Foundry. And Witch King is in Foundry because he is all excited to get this game going here. This is a character I've decided I'm going to play in my main campaign. So as you can see, I have my qualities. I only gone up to 5. I do have 6 drawbacks, which gave me 6 XP to start off with. I think I put most of those back into some of these. These are my life points, my endurance, and my essence. Yeah, imagine if I start losing all of those. And these are my skills. All my skills, I pretty much set to 3, so I don't really have a specialty. Although, collectively, depending on the skill, could be considered a specialty. But as you guys can see, I don't have any special skills or anything like that. These are my issues. So yeah. Oh, and here's some of my equipment. Punch kick is not really equipment, but these are some of the things you can do. I do have a Colt Python 357 Magnum. Yes, I went Rick Grimes with it. I don't care. I like that gun. That was my favorite gun beforehand. I did know a little bit about guns, but before that show even came out, I always did like how the Colts look. I'm not sure why. I just thing. And then these are a couple of the other items I'm carrying with me. Oh, and then my guy was good enough to have a vehicle, of which I do like this because you can actually store equipment in there. You can store items, equipped items onto the vehicle, and then weapons as well. Maybe he might engineer that vehicle later on down the road to become a zombie assault vehicle. Who the hell knows? Like, I'm not beyond the idea of creativity. Even though this is modern, I'm just going to be a douche about it. That's all. At least you guys know ahead of time what I'm becoming. So, all right. I think that's pretty much covering everything for house rules. Oh, no, that does not cover everything for house rules. I am wrong. That does not cover everything for house rules. There is one more rule. So, let's talk about this for a little bit. I do want to talk about this. Spending essence pool. Or essence points, however you want to call it. So, you're probably wondering what this means. Well, essence is kind of essentially a metaphysical part of the world, but it's also kind of like, excuse everyone in the background, there was a sneeze. It's also part of, like, maybe luck, where you could actually, like, if you're only missing things by, like, a couple points, you could spend a certain amount of points of essence to actually do that. Yes, this does hinder your character. It does take away from your character, but the takeaway is you're still living to survive another day. So that's the takeaway. You're only allowed to spend 5 points in one single turn. And no, you can't spend a certain number of points to split this up among that. You have to choose between 1 and 5, and that's that. So if you spend 1 point of essence, you get a +1 to any roll that you're doing. So if you're 1 point off, you can spend 1 point of essence to correct that. 2 points of essence +2 to any roll. 3 points of essence, which gives you a +3 to any roll. You have to declare this on that roll before you do it. If you feel like you're gonna need it, and then spend 4 points of essence to +4 to any roll. Now the max is 5. When you spend 5, you just add another die. This die becomes a luck die, and it basically comes with an exploding 10. And then if the luck die is a 1, it is called a consequence 1. This will resemble good luck and bad luck because there is a quality called good luck and bad luck, but it's considered a supernatural quality. We won't be using it. So instead, I translated it to a simple dice roll. If you roll a 1 on a luck die, you get a bad luck. If you roll 10, you get more good luck. So that just depends on how that works. Like I said, it is mostly for inspired. Other than that, essence can also be considered mental health. But I am going to give it a little bit of a thing where a person can just spend a little bit of their sanity just to survive the insanity that is in the game, which I am completely fine for. So, and this luck die comes in a thing of a 1d10. So, and yes, you can only do 5 points. You can't say, well, I have 10 points of essence. Or I have 20 points of essence, I want to spend half of it and get 2 luck die. No, you only get 1. And you can only do it per turn. So, that's how that works. Okay. I think I've gone everything over the house rules. Don't really have much left to talk about. That's pretty much how this is gonna work. Like I said, norm characters. I'm gonna go and help my good buddy. Which king are you still in? Are you still here, good buddy? I don't think he's still here. I was gonna say, if you're seeing this, I may just go help you, because everyone is getting super excited for this, which I'm glad about. And I found out there's a bunch of fans out there, so this could be like a very good point. So, anywho, that's all that I have for today. I know we take a little bit of break about halfway through, so which that break was only like 5 minutes, so that was good. This actually took a lot less time than I thought it was going to. I was pretty sure I was going to be talking forever. But I guess not. Alright, well. That was kind of a letdown. Alright. Well, thank you for all who tuned in. And if you like the house rules, stay tuned for my actual Age of the Dead campaign. Because it is coming right up. And it is coming right up here, and exactly, I think, let's see here. We got one more day left in this month, and then 29 next month. Is it leap year?
Yes.
Huh, I didn't know it was leap year this year. So we have exactly 30 days. 30 days and counting to Age of the Dead, and when zombies roam the earth. Once again, thank you guys for tuning in. This is Tabletop Junkie, telling you guys to work hard, play hard, and game on, everybody. Have a great and wonderful day.